In May 2016, World Peace International invited Dr. David Kennedy, Professor of Law and Director of the Institute of Global Law and Policy at Harvard Law School, to speak to representatives of international key media. The title of the lecture was EXPERTOCRACY, MEDIACRACY or Democracy: Who Controls Government, Politics and Public Opinion in Our Advanced Democracies. The crisis of democracy is becoming every day more evident. Trust in political institutions and electoral participation is plummeting rapidly. Political parties are losing their members and demagogues are becoming increasingly popular. Democratically non-legitimized private actors, experts and media conglomerates gain increasingly power and influence. More and more, political decisions are transferred from traditional decision-making entities to expert groups, often negotiating and deciding in secret. Are we witnessing a more or less veiled transformation from our democracies towards expertocracies and mediacracies?
Something has happened that we're only now beginning to put together, and it has something to do with the power of technical expertise and the role of technical experts in the management of our societies, both on the public side and on the private side. It has something to do with globalization, with the shared projects of those elites in a variety of cultures and the search for a common language with which they can debate and engage one another. And it has something to do with legalization, the emergence of one or another legal form as a predominant or certainly very often useful global vocabulary for people to talk to one another. So another thing that's happened in our societies is the feeling that people have that they must speak these languages. This is the political correctness dimension. You can't speak seriously about that like that. So in international affairs, you're not allowed to say, God told me to do it. You're not allowed to say, I'm stronger, I'm going to take it. You have to say, the values of the common humanity are really at stake. You have to find a formulation for the civilized presentation of your views, whatever they might be. You can't say we're going to war because it's a good idea. You have to say, well, under the UN Charter and the security and this and that and self-defense and the purposes and principles, you have to have something like that to say. So if you feel very strongly about an issue, you may feel that whatever you could say about it, you're not allowed to say. And so the citizens have a feeling that they're disciplined. They're disciplined by the media in how they should think about things and what's possible to say. But they're also disciplined by their children's teachers, they're disciplined by their colleagues at work, by their employers. So this feeling that these are not authentic languages, but they're compulsory languages, leaves a residue with people. So you find people having the experience that they're not allowed to say what they think. Now, my own sense, having talked to many such people, is they don't know what they think, actually, because they've had no opportunities to develop their own thinking on something. They've been learning all these languages. There's no secret thing that they're not saying, but the feeling that all the modes of expression are compulsory to them is very real. And so this sets up a kind of situation.
Where does fit Donald Trump in? Because he obviously refuses to speak the expert language, and he serves very much the wish of the people to speak frankly and open and directly.
And I'll just point to two things that he has done that have completely stymied the commentary classes, but that seem very effective. One is he speaks in contradictions. So it's the opposite of Bernie. I'm against fracking. He says I'm against fracking. Actually, I want fracking. I'm against Mexico, but I'm going to do a deal with Mexico. I often hire gay people, but I, think that we should have. So, what's going on with that? I think what's going on with that is that the voters are also divided about those things. So he's hitting things, each one of which seems true when he says it, and none of them seem managed. So there's something, and you could think he's a deal maker, he's a moderate, he'll work it out. Like me, he's conflicted about these things. So the public is not sitting there predetermined with passion at one thing or the other. They've been watching television, they have all the views in their head. And it's not that there are, of course, people for whom being against abortion is the most important thing, or being in favor of abortion is the most important thing. But for most people, they're both against it and for it. It's not that they have a moderate view that it should be done this time or that. That's a technical answer. They just feel divided. And he expresses their division. So I think that's an important aspect of his appeal. And then the other thing is he just says things that nobody in public life would say. And that's very appealing. So in some sense, it's the lack of seriousness with which people take politicians' speech is really helping him, so that his extremism can cut through. But no one really thinks the situation is so plastic that he would be able to do that.
Media should be the interface between politics and the voter, so that the politicians understand what the voters want, and the voters understand what the politicians do and why they, and so a public opinion should emerge out of the discourse, which is public discourse, which is held in the media. But obviously the media are not defining themselves to a good degree anymore in this concept, and they have changed because of a number of reasons. So mainly now, as I think Marshall McLuhan said, media are collecting eyeballs in front of screens to serve advertisement to the masses. So if the role of media have changed dramatically during the last decades, maybe, then is not one pillar of democracy breaking down and not existing anymore?
I don't see it quite that way. So, I think everybody's collecting eyeballs would be one way to think about it. So everybody is in this common search for other people to validate what they're doing. It's part of the no responsibility culture, that everybody's being driven by the other in some way. And that's why people can say, we didn't do it, look at what the consumers buy, that's what they want in a newspaper. We didn't decide, look what the media is making me do. So it goes all around like that. And if you're sitting at home thinking, fundamentally the society is broken, and many people think that, for many different reasons, ranging from global warming to too many people in my supermarket speak Spanish to whatever. And no one's doing anything about it. And I turn on TV and there's all this going on, but it's not about changing anything, moving anything, speaking to me authentically about what I'm worried about. That's a crisis of democracy at that point, where no one believes that the leadership, even well-intentioned and well-informed and well-explained, can do anything about the things that most bother one.